V1. Rotate.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Flight Sim 008 video, this time not with Fly UK. And we're back here in Montreal, and for those of you who have been around my channel for a little bit longer now, you'll know that Montreal is kind of the airport I go to when I'm doing non-Fly UK related videos. And today, we're going to be checking out not a new product, but one that was recently updated that kind of convinced me to finally take the plunge and go for it. We'll be checking out the iFly 747-400 for P3D. Now, ever since I moved over to P3D, there's been a Queen of the Skies shaped hole in my life, and my goal in this video is to share my first impressions of the aircraft after spending a few days with it. Now, I'm not calling this a review because I don't think after only 2 days and a couple of short flights that would be a fair assessment of the product. But I did want to put my thoughts out there and highlight some of the features that have been updated in the most recent patch. Okay, so a bit of backstory. I love the 7.4. I'm not going to hide it. Its iconic shape and elegant lines were what really struck me as a young kid in the early 90s. The original PMDG 747 for FS9 was one of the first major payware aircraft I purchased. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing back then, but that's besides the point. I could even loosely hypothesize that its existence is one of the reasons I ended up working in the aviation industry. The version we're looking at here is Service Pack 1A, released on the 23rd of November, which is important because there's a lot of very important changes in the update, especially in the flight deck. Now, I'm going to be mentioning this a lot in this video, so we may as well get it out of the way. This product cost $59.95 US dollars, or 80 Canadian dollars, stupid exchange rate, 56 euros, 40 British pounds, or 83 dollary dues. That is not an insignificant amount of monies. So let's take a look at the exterior. Now, it's more or less 747 shaped, so we're starting off on the right foot, and you can see the cargo doors are animated, which I think we've come to expect from what I'm going to call premium level add-ons these days. You can see there's some nice reflections on the fuselage here, maybe a little bit too shiny. I personally don't like to fly immaculate looking aircraft. I prefer a little bit of the weathered look, but that's totally personal preference. Speaking of liveries, when you first install this product, it comes with a grand total of 3 liveries. The iFly paint job in controversial orange, this British Airways One World, and I want to say Virgin Atlantic? So then we get to the undercarriage and the nose gear. It's detailed quite well. You can see the landing lights, the runway turnoffs. Now the texturing inside the gear housing isn't anything to write home about, but that's a small gripe. Though I'm not exactly sure what they took a picture of to paste that in there. Anyways, but the outside, the gear door animations are smooth, fluid, and from the outside of the main nose gear, it looks fine. Then we get to the wings and the leading edges. Now these do come out, and one of the things I'm kind of disappointed about is the texturing on the wings. If we look here, first of all, I don't know what's going on there, and I mean, this makes a lot more sense for the leading edge. I guess they were trying to make it shiny. Anyways, yeah, I mean the model is okay. There's some edges that are a little bit rough. We get to the engines. This is the Rolls-Royce variant. Again, with the shiny, it doesn't really work. It doesn't make it look like chrome. I'd much prefer if it was, you know, a matte texture, kind of like this. But the engines themselves are very well modeled. I mean, you can see the rivets inside. Well, I mean, upon super close inspection, they don't look fantastic, but you know, you're never going to get realistically that close to the engine. In terms of an inspection, an engine, you know, a walk around or whatnot, this is pretty much as close as you'd be getting. And yeah, no, the fans are individually modeled. The spindle has the whatever you want to call it, that spiral paint on it. You know, there's a Rolls-Royce decal on the side. Again, though, I don't know what this is, and I'm not super fond of it, the reflection that you can see. The rest, well, yeah, the textures are okay. They're 1024 by 1024, so, you know, they're what you expect. The outer pylons look quite a lot better, actually, than the, or at least from that angle, than the inner. Yeah, see? Again, with the shiny. I don't know what that is. I kind of wish it was more like that. That looks great. Anyways, the back of the engine, you've got some nice detail in there, so that looks great. Can't say I'm disappointed with that. You got the canoes, another engine. This particular livery has the Reggie on the bottom of the wing. It's a nice touch. All the way out to, here we are at the edge of the wing, and we've got the position lights, 2 bulbs inside plus the strobe. So everything's modeled in there, 3-dimensional. It's not just a sticker. That's nice. The winglet, nothing really wrong with that. Again, with that reflection that I'm not super fond of, though. On the back of the wing, we have all of the different probes. Well, not the probes, but the wicks, if you will. We do have the fuel jettison nozzles, and apparently they're animated. I haven't tried a fuel jettison yet, but apparently they're animated somehow whenever you're dumping fuel. And on the upside of the overside of the wing here, we have our control surfaces, which again, texturing mediocre. The top of the wing looks pretty good. I mean, there's the rivets. They're not, you know, super high definition. This is 1024 by 1024. But, you know, from, let's say, this angle, the wing looks relatively good, actually. You know, no weathering, but you know, even the leading edge from here with the reflection, it's nice. Looks all right. Then we get back here to the flaps, and that's another one that, you know, once the flaps are down, I'll give you a nicer look at that. It's mediocre. So one thing they did add in the Service Pack 1 Alpha is the window reflections. So you got this nice kind of, you know, the windows actually reflect light now, and it looks quite good, actually. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with that. Moving our way back to the rear of the aircraft, we've got the stabs here. Again, medium quality on the textures. Kind of wish they were a little bit more, you know, sharp, if you will. But again, you got the wicks modeled and everything in 3 dimensions. That's always nice. Coming back to the rear here, there's some grime on the next to the APU exhaust. Got the rear light modeled here in 3 dimensions. That's nice. Some grime on the rudder as well. I don't think the rudder's going to move. Nope. There's no hydraulic pressure. So, yeah, the tail looks quite good. Got some more wicks up there. The tail is modeled quite nicely. On the top of the stabilizers, we've got the logo lights. Textures are, well, they're really not sharp, but that's okay. I mean, you're not going to be spending too much time. From a glance at in the distance like this, it looks quite good, quite passable. And again, I like this more matte finish to the top of the control surface here, the top of the elevator. I'd much prefer that on the wings as well. Moving along the other side, you can see that there's quite a significant amount of reflection on the body as well. All of these doors open via the FMC, so that's nice. Yeah, let's take a look at the main bogies. So these are also modeled quite well. Textures from about this distance are, you know, sharp-ish. There's some detail. You can see all the hydraulics, pneumatics, and all of that stuff. All the cables going up. It's quite good. The inside of the doors here, the gear doors, and the inside of the gear bays are modeled a little bit, textured a little bit better than the nose gear as well. So that's always that's nice. But yeah, the inside of these outer gear doors here, not great. And you know, there's quite a bit of detail here on the outer main bogies. You can see inside you've got the brakes and the struts and everything supporting it. And another thing that they added on the Service Pack 1 Alpha is the textures on the outer sides of the wheels. When this before I applied the patch, these were pristine and white, and basically as white as the main fuselage. And for those of us that are familiar with aviation, brake dust happens, and so the main gear hubs essentially are not going to be pristine for more than the first rollout of an aircraft. After that, they just basically start to look grimy and filthy, and that's normal. That's brake dust accumulation and wear and weathering, and I much prefer the way it looks now after the service pack. So well done on that one. That was a nice little detail that they added. The exterior of the flight deck area has a couple of 3D modeled the wipers and the probes and the washer nozzles, and oh my god, I just noticed the pilots. Oh, that is borderline racist. Look at those. Those are unhappy, scary. That is what nightmares are made of. And then we get to the business end of this aircraft, which is the flight deck. So, quite a huge flight deck in the 747. And you can see that they've modeled quite a bit in here. You've got some jackets on the hangars. You've got some books that... Oh, you've got even a little tray table. I'm still actually discovering some click spots in this. What I would have liked is to maybe forego some of these click spots on the superfluous ones in order to get a little bit better performance. And we're going to be talking about performance a little bit later on in the video. I'm going to do a little bit of a flight here. But, yeah, I mean, it's great that they modeled a tray table in the back there. But honestly, do we really need that? Now, the circuit breaker textures are very, very well done, and everything is done in 3 dimensions. I mean, this actually surprised me quite a bit. This is exquisite right here. I mean, each single circuit breaker is individually modeled, textured. The whole thing has glass or some sort of a translucent material going in and out. And it's really well done. I'm very impressed. Unfortunately, this is behind where you're actually going to be in the flight deck most of the time. But it's the little details that count. And again, this is really well modeled. It's beautiful to look at. The carpeting, medium on the textures. I would it's passable, especially from up here where eye level is going to be. If you look down at the carpeting, it's actually quite good. It's not as bad as if all of these textures, these 1024 by 1024 textures, the closer you get, the worse it's going to look. So from eye point here, I would definitely give that more than a pass, actually, more than a medium. It looks quite good. We've got the headset modeled over here. We're going to start on the right, and we're going to work our way counterclockwise all the way over to the captain's side. So let's see. We've got window shades. They are functional. Nice little sound as well. The sounds, which we'll get to again a little bit later in the video, are very, very, very well done in this aircraft. So I'm happy with those as well. Can't disconnect that. So we've got the window shade here. We do not... oh yeah, we do. So 2 window shades on the on both sides. That's... And you can hear they did go through quite a bit of effort to model the sound of the window shade. So let's move up to the overhead panel. And if I can get my camera to cooperate. There we go. So the overhead panel, everything is 3-dimensional, including the circuit breakers back here. Everything looks fantastic, as a matter of fact. None of these are actually clickable, which is actually more than okay with me. One of the limitations of the ESP platform, the ESP platform being FSX, whether it's Steam Edition or Boxed and P3D, is the more click spots that we add to a flight deck, the slower the performance. And Robert Randazzo of PMDG actually mentioned that in one of his arguments, why they don't usually do circuit breakers in the P3D or FSX environment, because adding that many click spots to it would just completely cripple the performance of aircraft. So that's why they don't have it. I didn't expect them to be functional in this aircraft as well. That's absolutely fine with me. We've got, let's see, starting with the emergency lights, we've got everything clickable here. One of the improvements from the original 747. Okay, So let me get into this for a second here. I originally bought this aircraft a couple of days ago, not even 2 or 3 days ago, and I originally had the first service pack installed. So it was the 747 version 2 plus service pack 1. And honestly, I was not very impressed. I was impressed at the flight deck. It looked pretty much the same visually. It was quite good in terms of the actual aircraft handling. I was impressed. What I wasn't impressed was their use of click spots, their use of the scroll wheel support, and just little things that I think I, as a consumer, have been spoiled with P3D and with Aerosoft and with Majestic in their Dash 8. The click spots, and I don't know how to really say this, but the zoning for where you can click, bang on those aircraft. They obviously put a lot of work into it. The scroll wheel support is exactly what you'd want. And so this aircraft, when I originally installed it, I'll get into it in a little bit, but there were certain quirks of it that I really wasn't fond of. Now, after the Service Pack 1 Alpha, everything is much, 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 and I can't stress this enough, much better. Much more scroll wheel support all over the flight deck. There are still a couple of little niggles here and there, but honestly, way better in terms of the scroll wheel support, in terms of the click spots, in terms of how you go about basically manipulating this virtual cockpit in a virtual environment with your physical hardware on the outside of the sim. So with your mouse and you know, all of the tools that are available. Unfortunately, we as sim pilots, unless we've invested quite a significant amount of money into these things, we don't have these buttons in the real life. We can't actually reach out and twist a knob. So the more options we have in order to do that, whether it's hovering and basically just using the scroll wheel like I'm doing right now, up, down, or right-clicking and left-clicking. That's another innovation that we're spoiled with Aerosoft, with PMDG, and with Majestic, is that right-clicking and left-clicking feels right. So when I want to turn something clockwise, I obviously think of the right-hand side of my mouse, and so I'll right-click something. This is a feature that the iFly 747 V2 didn't originally have until very, very recently, until a couple of days ago. So I'm very happy now that I can use both the scroll wheel and the right and left mouse clicks to manipulate my virtual environment. So right-click, left-click, right-click, left-click, mouse wheel, mouse wheel, mouse wheel. So I'm very, very, very happy with that. So yeah, that covers basically, well, actually we didn't cover most of the overhead. So working our way down, we've got everything modeled in wonderful 3D. Everything is basically clickable. Everything has a solid, chunky feel to it. I don't know how to really describe it. Let's see. Let's just turn on the trim air here. Again, the sounds, they're pretty generic. They don't really depend on which button you click. So they don't each individually have their own unique sound. That's completely fine with me again. You can hear it's basically the same sound for most of these. They may have tweaked them, but I really don't hear the difference. But again, that's not even a problem in my book. That's absolutely acceptable, especially when you have something that's as well modeled as this overhead is. Everything works. Everything does what it's supposed to do, what it says on the tin. So that's all fantastic. You've got your lights here, the beacon light. We've got the nav light. Everything has a decently chunky feel to it. That was one of the other things. Is these switches here? I think they're a little bit subpar in terms of the modeling. The black switches here are fantastic. I couldn't say anything negative about those. These here, which let's face it, in normal operations, you're going to be using these light switches quite often. I think they could be slightly higher texture and slightly higher model quality. They're fine. They're the right shape, but yeah, I'm not disappointed. But it'd be nice if they were a little bit higher res. The turnoffs are individually selectable. The taxi light, obviously. The landing lights, so far as I can tell, with my limited experience with this aircraft, are all on or all off. No matter what you do, I've done a quick look in the configuration guide, and I can't really see how to individually turn on the outboard and the inboard. Again, not a huge problem. Would have been nice to have at least maybe 2 groups, the outboards and the inboards. But again, whatever. When you're coming into land, you really either want them on or off, so I'm not too fussed about that either. We'll get to lighting, especially night lighting, in just a little bit here. So we've got all of the... So yeah, the switches versus the knobs have different sounds, obviously. No, yeah, the sound qualities is absolutely fantastic. Can't say anything negative about it. Everything works up here. Can we do the fire test? Let's just... so there. Oop. Nope, we want that, and we want... Okay, see, again, a couple of little niggles here. Oh, there we go. Okay, it closed itself. Yeah, the click spots aren't 100%, but I would give them, after this service pack, I would say 99%. Really, very, very well done. Can't complain with what they've done, especially if you compare it to the pre-released, the previously released Service Pack 1. Still wasn't impressed with it. So, let's see, can we do a fire test? I'm not super familiar with the, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, that works. Sound is fantastic. Each one individually lights up. You've got the APU, fire warning. You can discharge the bottles, which I won't do because we're about to do a flight here. You've got the forward and aft cargo fire arm. You can arm the bottles there. Everything works. Everything's fantastic. The only thing that doesn't work, and again, this is really not a complaint, is the windshield washer doesn't actually spray water, because that's a limitation, as far as I can tell, of the sim. Rain repellent, I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to do, but it doesn't do anything as well either. But the wipers work. The window heat obviously works, and yeah, no, can't say anything negative about that. Let's go over here. So we've got, again, more lighting here, whether it's for the panel or for the screens. Each one is individually selectable. So again, with scroll wheel support now, very happy about that. I'm using the scroll wheel right now. You can also right click and left click. The only thing that they seem to have left out is and this is again a feature that we're spoiled with PMDG, is if on the PMDG aircraft they have a little innovation where if you double click in rapid succession, it kind of just goes all the way to the minimum, and if you right double click, then it goes all the way to the maximum. So you don't always have to completely scroll all the way one way or the other. So that's a nice little feature that they've invented. Unfortunately, not available on this model. Again, I'm not too fussed. It's pretty simple to just, it's just a little bit more time consuming is all in terms of rotating the knobs. You've got your little pencil holders here, also modeled in quite good detail. Unless you're really bored in the cruise, you're not really going to be giving that a close-up look. Everything on the side here is quite well modeled. You've got your vents here, and you've got some wires coming out of whatever that is. Okay, getting over to the captain's side now, I'm going to actually just adjust my view to the... Okay, so this is the way I have my view set up for normal operations on the captain's side. Couple of complaints I'm going to talk about. One of them is this wire here coming up, and if we follow it, it comes out of this bin, and it goes all the way up and all the way around the windows, and it's basically this headset, I think. Yeah, it's this headset's wire. But the thing is, it's right in the way of if I'm looking right. So I always think there's either a graphical anomaly, or because it's not textured in any way, it's right in the middle of the window. I mean, please get rid of this in the next service pack or something, or maybe just move it along, one of the pillars or something, so it's not right there when I'm looking out the left-hand side of my window. If you could do that, and same on the right side, please. Even then, the right side doesn't bother me as much. It's still kind of annoying, and if you're flying out of the right seat, you have the same problem. But from the left side of the flight deck, it's okay, it's acceptable. I just don't like it having it right in the way of where I'm looking. You just saw that by accident, but the seats do move in and out with a click spot. You can also move the jump seats, so that's always nice. That one there, not the other one. Some of the textures are, a little bit off, but again, I don't care about the back of the flight deck really. I might look around, I might glance around. They're absolutely fine for what we're doing with this aircraft. Can't be fussed with that. What else? There was another thing that I wanted to talk about. Everything down here works. This is quite nicely modeled, and this isn't an area that we're going to be looking too much. We're not going to be looking down here too much either, but it's nice that they actually put quite a bit of effort into modeling this, because it is in the peripheral. If you're looking down at your rudder pedals or something like that. Oh, and by the way, the rudder pedals, I can use my scroll wheel here. They are adjustable, so cool. Good, cute little feature there with this. There's a click spot. Yeah. So this is more in the peripherals, but they've gone through quite a bit of trouble to model this cup holder here. And there's a little gap in the flight deck. If anybody at iFly is watching, and I really doubt you are, but if you are, kudos, cool. I'm more popular than I thought. Yeah, so there's a little gap to fix there. You're welcome. Found it. Yeah. So this screen here is, I think, for the tail cam or cockpit entry video. So yeah, this doesn't work. Nothing here works, which is fine as long as it's modeled, and it absolutely is. So yeah, nothing down here is modeled. I'm totally cool with that. That would be extra click spots anyways for the flight deck that we really don't need in normal operations, and probably bring down performance slightly. Everything over here though, so we've got the flight director switch. We want left, center, or right. That's all good. Nav, FMC right, FMC, dual CDU. That's totally cool with me. So we can leave that on dual CDU, and we'll do the center flight director. Everything here works. Everything does, as far as I can tell, what it's supposed to do and what it says on the tin. So that's awesome. Again, the light switches all totally individually customizable with the scroll wheel support now, functioning scroll wheel support. So let's get over to the MCP. The MCP is one of the most fantastic things I have ever seen in flight simulation. They have gone through a lot of work to model this well. Maybe if I had one slight little niggle, it's that these wedding cakes and these switches here are a little bit on the bright side, and could use a little bit of a dimming. Like maybe a skosh, a shade, something a little bit darker. They look a little bit too bright for me. Maybe a little bit more of a weathered feel. Again, it's a personal preference thing. I'm really not going to, deduct any points. Not that there's any points in this anyways. This is my first impressions. Yeah, but the rest of the MCP, you can tell that, all of these little characters are individually modeled with, quite a bit of definition, and they're really nicely done. They're very, very three-dimensional in that you have, the panel covering, and then you've got like another layer underneath, and then you've got another layer where the actual numbers reside underneath. So that's really, 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 really nice work on the part of iFly there. The MCP is a fantastic piece of kit to use. Another thing, a lot of people a lot of arguments that I heard when this aircraft first came out, and again until the recent patch, was that the scroll wheel support, even though in Service Pack 1 was added, the scroll wheel support was a little bit lacking. Actually no, scroll wheel support was or was not. Now this is one of those things I can't remember. But in any case, there was plus minuses with the mouse. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but you had those original FSX ESP code plus minuses, and you could kind of scroll over the numbers. Now it's very, very well done. I'm using my scroll wheel right now to up, down. It's smooth. It's rather precise. You can also right click and hold, which I'm doing now. Left click and hold, which I'm doing now. So everything works exactly as I would expect it, and to the level of modern day release candidates for or in terms of the modern aircraft that were expected. And this is a full priced model, by the way. This cost me $80 Canadian. So spending that kind of money, I would hope that things would work to an $80 level, and I'm happy to say that in terms of the MCP, in terms of all of these switches now with the scroll wheel support, and again, this didn't come out of the box this way originally. This is Service Pack 1A, so they've gone through 2 revisions already, and it now finally has the feel where, it feels like an $80 product. It feels like a major add-on, a study level add-on. Not that it wasn't a study level add-on before. It's just now it kind of feels and has that gloss and finish, I would call it the finish that a PMDG level, or any other $80 product for flight sim actually has. Very happy with that. Coming down here to the center pedestal, everything is modeled quite well. The textures are crisp, even at a close glance. None of these buttons back here work, but everything else does. Rudder trim works. Let's see, aileron trim, flight deck doors, mostly modeled. No smoking signs. Seatbelt signs. All of these switches here for the various navigation and the radios. So we can switch the mic, VHF1, VHF2. Can put the mic pretty much anywhere we want, and as well as the radios. I haven't tested it out online in terms of VATSIM yet, and so I'm not quite sure how the radios would handle it. But everything is modeled, and you know what? I'll fire up vPilot and see if it connects to a frequency. Probably just going to be a Unicom or something like that. I'll see if transmit works and all of that stuff, and I'll see if the transponder also works, which, by the way, we've got, let's see, none of this works down here, that's fine. We've got auto brakes, so that all works, that's modeled. The transponder, again, scroll wheel support, fantastic addition on an $80 product, that's to be expected. The transponder fully works. We can go ahead and test it. Left click, and you can see on the ND everything works. And in a second, we'll get that announcement. TCAS test.
TCAS system test OK.
There you go. So that works. Standby radios and first officer's radios. Everything here is modeled. The weather radar is modeled. Works with Active Sky Next. I've tested it out. It works. You can see the weather as you're flying. The tilt, as far as I know, the tilt isn't automatic, so you've got to manually set the tilt. Let's see, let's do a test on the weather radar.
Monitor radar display. Go around. Wind shear ahead. Wind shear ahead. Wind shear ahead.
That seems to be working. Anything else? Are we going to hear any other oral announcements? No. Maybe? I don't know. Still testing. Anyways, so we'll leave that on. The gain is automatic though, and we can switch it from the right to the left system, so 2 systems. Stab trim, all of these, they're modeled. So, again, the click spots on this one, I'm just finding out. I don't know how do I unstab trim you? I'm right clicking, I'm left clicking, I'm using the mouse wheel, nothing. Okay? So I don't know if that's supposed to happen like that, or if it's just a glitch. Again, I'm not a 747 pilot, so I wouldn't know. This here works. That's cool. What are you doing? Okay, whatever. We'll leave it like that. The textures at close range, they're okay. But if we zoom out to eye level, where the first officer would be sitting here, they look pretty good. I'm not convinced on this here inside the gate. These are supposed to be like brushes. Yeah, they're medium. But the rest, everything else here, you can see a little bit of weathering on the side here. The flap lever, obviously, we can select. And this is kind of cool. The brushes do separate, so the animation is nice. The texturing is okay, but the flap lever is quite well modeled. The throttle levers quite well modeled, textured as well. We've got the toga buttons down here, and we've got I guess this is auto throttle cutout, not quite sure. Again, the brushes over here on the speed brakes, very, very well modeled. The texturing, medium. Stab trim, so stab trim, I can go ahead and trim. Actually, I can't work it because there's no hydraulic pressure, so that makes sense. The FMCs. The FMCs. Okay, so we've got two options on the FMCs. You can configure this. I don't know if it's per aircraft or it's just a generalized setting, but you can have the old style FMC, what are they called? CRT monitor kind of thing. It's the green old look, and I've gone ahead and put the new look as well. You can configure 1, 2, and number 3, which is back here, to whichever style you prefer. The ND and the MF main flight display are both configurable as well from CRT to. Hang on, just gonna put that back there. From CRT, which it is selected now, to the new style. Here we'll go into the 747. We will go into styles. And if you look here, we've got all of these options here that are configurable. So we've got startup state, state of last exit, which is kind of a cool feature because, you know, if you don't shut down the aircraft completely, or if you only shut it down partially, then when it loads up, it'll remember that and come back as that. That's a really cool feature. You can have it cold and dark every time, and you can have normal, which I think is like a engines on, almost ready for takeoff kind of thing. Units, you can select metric and US systems. That affects your FMS, essentially in gallons or in pounds or in kilograms. Joystick sensitivity, hide captain's seat in VC mode. You can hide the FO seat. Mini display, I'm not quite sure what that does. The autopilot, there's plenty of options here. The PFDs, plenty of options. NDs, ECAS, so you can have the oil quantity and whatever you want. Display hydraulic and operative system, blah blah blah. IRS, you can set the IRSs to align in whatever amount of time you'd like. Ground proximity warning, we've got all of the callouts. You can turn those on and off, so that's really cool. Terrain map, EGWS. Okay, so here's the CDU. So I've got CRT for the left-hand side. Right-hand side is the LCD, the white one, the newer one, and the rear one here is the CRT as well. And we've got electrical system with galley bus, blah blah blah. Intelligent cruise. So that's the thing that I first saw on the PMD G777. Basically, when you get up to cruise altitude, you can have it accelerate up to 8 times. Auto step climb, pause on top of or from top of descent, auto fuel balance. The fuel system in the 747 is quite complex, so you know, for if you want to simplify things because you are only one person in the flight deck, you can have that auto balance, and you can pause the flight simulator when there's fuel low. So yeah, the display type CRT or LCD, so you can switch those two. I'll give you a quick comparison shot, but there's not that big of a difference, so let's go to LCD. And you can see that they fill out a little bit more here, and they're a little bit bigger, whereas if we go to this, and this, and this, there you go. There's your little screenshot of how it, or a little comparison of how they fill out in terms of the spacing there. Let's see, moving down here, again, these knobs, a little bit bright for me. I would knock them down a shade, maybe. You can, everything down here works. FMC, right, left. Scroll wheel support as well. Fantastic addition. The backup gauges are absolutely well modeled. The ball here is 3-dimensional and has multiple layers to it, so that's great. There is non-reflective glass. Actually, is there glass? No. So no glass modeled on top of the standby instruments, but you can tell that they're, again, multi-layered, so this feels like it, or looks like it's modeled to pop out a little bit in terms of, you can see here how it's popping out from the basic, the flat face of the gauge, as well as the settings here are also 3-dimensional, and we can, again, scroll wheel support, right click, left click, again, wonderful additions. They're well modeled. They look great. They do what they're supposed to do. The landing gear lever texture is medium. Again, from far away, from where you'd be sitting in the flight deck, it's more than passable. Not super happy with the click spots, and in order to get the gear off, you have to basically click on off, where, you know, some of the logic in other aircraft, you could just click on the gear and it would turn off. Again, I'm talking about PMDG. I know I sound like a fanboy, but honestly, they have certain innovations and they have certain ways of doing it that kind of make logical sense when you're flying a flight. They kind of they look at how you operate an aircraft as a sim pilot, and they make it easier. Their refinements are, you know, spot on. Yeah. Again, this is one of those little niggles here. When the gear is up, one time I tried to click on the gear lever, and you can see this is what I was talking about with the plus minus thing. Again, the gear's not going to work right now, but yeah, I was trying to get the gear. The gear was up and off on a departure, and I was trying to get it off and locked. So from the up to the off position, and basically almost actually I did have the gear start to come down again. So I misclicked there, which is kind of a little bit of a shame. What else? All of these work. Flap override. There we go. We can override the flaps. Gear override. We can do that. Terrain override. Glide slope inhibit. You know, all of these buttons do actually what they're supposed to do, as far as I can tell. Again, not being a real pilot. We can switch the ECAS, ND, PFD, all of that good stuff. So many options, many things to discover on this aircraft. Everything looks fantastic. The flight deck as a whole is a wonderful environment to be in. The texturing on here is actually quite good as well from eye level. You know, it's not hyper sharp, but again, it definitely does the job. One little thing I don't like is actually, okay, there's two things once we're on this view. First of all, no texturing on the top here. And if you're familiar with my videos, I always my first preset for the camera views is always, you know, the captain's seat here, eye level, everything nice and aligned. And my second one is always kind of like a dash cam, kind of like you see in the videos online of real world pilots. They would put like a camera mounted on the dash here so that you can see out and where the aircraft is going. And it would be nice to have, you know, at least this texturing just continue all the way down, just to make it a little bit more complete. The other thing I wanted to talk about while we were up here is the entire flight deck seems to be kind of, well, first of all, the nose isn't modeled, which, you know, is fine. And if we go outside the flight deck, we can see what's actually modeled here. So the wipers are actually modeled in 3 dimensions. Nothing up there on the overhead. That's totally fine. If you were to exit a PMDG aircraft as well, it would look kind of funny, and it would look kind of like this as well. By the way, they modeled the wingtips, and I'll get to that in a second when we're out there. So yeah, from here it kind of looks okay, but once we're inside, you know, it's missing something. Even if it was really flat and matte like this in real life, it's just missing a little something. The shadows are wonderful, but it's just, I don't know. It's missing something. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the entire flight deck is surrounded by what I perceive as a light blue, almost like a baby blue tint or tinge, which is kind of weird because maybe it was supposed to be white and it just looks a little off in my screen settings. But if this is coming across in YouTube, the whole flight deck is kind of surrounded by a bluish hue, and I don't know if the real aircraft is like that, but it always threw me off because at least from the nose cam here, it kind of looks like you're flying a blue livery. And when you're looking around, you know, from far here, it kind of almost could pass for white. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be painted the same color as the exterior of the aircraft, but we are most definitely not in a blue aircraft. We're in the British Airways, the white livery. And for some reason, any livery you select, it comes across as blue. So that's a little bit on the odd side. As I was mentioning earlier, so they modeled the wingtips, but only so far out as before the outboard engines. They probably did that to save on polygons and memory, which is fine. So if we stay within the, you know, normal constraints of the flight deck, everything looks fine. You can see the wingtips, you can see the beacon light, or sorry, the strobe lights and the nav lights from outside the flight deck, which is kind of a cool feature. But if you go a little bit too far, it kind of breaks the immersion. That's okay with me. Back here, anything to note? I don't know if this is all 3D modeled as well. And yes, we do have click spots. I'm not sure if they work. This would be for for somebody in the jump seat to be monitoring the frequencies. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. What else? What else? What else? Let's. I'm gonna go ahead and launch vPilot and see if I can connect to vPilot with this thing and see if the transponder works. So I will turn the transponder off, or make sure it is off. So okay, it's in standby. I will switch the frequencies and I will see if that functionality works as well. Okay, lucky for me, there was actually well, there is ATC on in the region in the form of New York Center, and I am picking it up. So let's go ahead and tune to them. Again, scroll wheel support, sweet. 32 was the frequency. Why is this not working? Interesting. Maybe I screwed something up? Hang on. VHF left, VHF left, VHF left. Okay, so I figured it out. It's this little knob here that wasn't on RT, receive transmit. So that's why now that it's on receive transmit, got New York Center. That seems to work. Yep, everything's working. Awesome. Okay, so I'll go ahead and disconnect. Close that. There we go. Okay. So yeah, radios work. Everything syncs up, especially the of note the transponder as well. So that's awesome. Yeah. So the FMCs. Quite a bit of detail has gone into the FMCs. Again, you have all of this in three-dimensional. When you click on a button, it doesn't animate, but I'm totally fine with that. You've got pop-ups. So we've got the right-hand side and the the left-hand side and the right-hand side. The third one in the middle doesn't pop up. Again, totally fine with me. I usually use that for simulation settings anyways, or ground connections or whatnot. You can see I've turned on the APU in the background, so that's firing up. What else? Basically everything in here works. Everything is functional, essentially. We've got zero fuel weight. We've got the little cheaty, you left click once and it fills that out for you. We can put the reserves in, we can put a cost index. The cost index is modeled. Everything that you'd expect in a normal CDU or FMS or whatever you want to call it absolutely works. We've also got a menu here. ACARS, not modeled. Simulation. So we've got simulations. We've got failure simulations. So we can add and clear failures. There's a whole list. There's 3 pages of things we can set to fail. We've got random failures. Let's not, no. Let's not random failures. Clear failures. How do I no more random failures? How do I no more random failures? Set what? Set on? Set off? I don't know. Clear. Alright, well that's going to make my next flight interesting. Anyway, we can save a flight, we can load a flight, panel style, a whole bunch of options here. I haven't really played around with this kind of stuff yet. There's a pushback feature, which I haven't tried either because I'm using GSX. By the way, that was another thing. I had to configure GSX myself. I think there's a profile out there that's readily available for download. Yeah, I had to kind of configure it. When it came out of the tin, it was kind of all over the place. Both the cargo loaders were in the front. The stairs didn't match up at all, so I kind of tweaked that a little bit. No big deal. What else? We've got the ground support. So if we go back to page 1, we've got ground power. We can connect that and disconnect that from there. No traffic cones or anything like that. Doors, you've got all of your door controls here. They're all individually selectable. They all open up. And also the interior is modeled. You can see the interior from outside, so that's cool. You can select the features on the intelligent cruise. That's always really nice. Yeah, fully functional FMS. You can update the data as well. So if we go to FMC, we can go to ident. I've got the latest ARAC data put into there, so that works for me. What else? Yeah, fully functional FMS in both styles. That's really cool. We've got all of the lower ECAM status pages. So we've got engines. We can monitor statistics. We've got electric, fuel, doors. No, sorry, not doors. Well, we do have doors, DRS. We've got gear, monitor the gear pressures and the brake temperatures and all that good stuff. We've got hydraulics, ECS, recall, cancel. Everything is functional. That's really, really cool. What was I going to say? Something about the lower ECAS. Oh yeah, we've got the Rolls-Royce engines installed on the BA livery. So instead of using N1 as its master value for engine settings, we've got EPR. So EPR is modeled, and I'll talk about that in another video and how that differs to N1 settings. It's not too complicated, but I don't want to get into it right now.